All right, welcome. Today, we are cracking open the box on the meal kit industry. From the outside, it looks so simple, right? A neat little box of fresh food. But what's really going on inside? Well, it's a high-stakes, surprisingly brutal business battle.
So, let's get on the same page. What are we even talking about here? At its heart, the meal kit industry is built on a really simple idea. A subscription service sends you a box with all the ingredients, perfectly portioned out, along with a recipe. The whole point is to make cooking at home easy, super convenient, and with absolutely zero food waste. Sounds perfect, doesn't it?
Well, here's the thing. There is a massive, massive gap between that promise and the actual reality of running one of these businesses. The ads, they sell you this dream of effortless, beautiful, gourmet meals. But the reality for the companies? Oh man, it is a logistical nightmare. It's full of customers who just sign up for that first discount and then vanish. And you're doing all this while fighting in a ridiculously competitive market.
So that brings us to the really crucial question, In an industry that is this tough, what actually separates the companies that make it from the ones that go under? Because, as we're about to see, it takes a whole lot more than just a good recipe to win this game.
Okay, before we can even begin to understand the players, we have to understand the game board itself. Every single company in this space, I don't care how big or how small, faces this exact same set of challenges that they're baked right into the business model.
And really, it all boils down to these four big hurdles. First up, customer churn. It is relentless. People sign up for a sweet deal, get a few boxes, and then they're gone. Poof. Second, the logistics are just a nightmare. You're dealing with cold chains, perishable food, it's incredibly complex. Third, there's the packaging problem. You know what I'm talking about, all those little plastic bags and ice packs. And finally, market saturation. You're not just competing with other meal kits, you're fighting every grocery store and every single takeout app on a person's phone.
So, how in the world have companies tried to solve these massive problems? Well, we're going to look at 5 different companies, 5 real-world case studies, each with a very, very different strategy for survival. Think of it like a high-stakes dinner party.
Our first guest at the party is HelloFresh. They're the current global leader, the king of the hill, and they didn't just stumble into being this big. No, they built an empire by treating every single meal kit like it was a data point in a massive, incredibly efficient machine.
And here's their playbook. This is how they do it. To fight that constant churn, they use all that data to personalize meals for you and to make it super easy to skip a week. No pressure. To tackle the logistics nightmare, they source directly from suppliers and use their enormous scale to predict demand. And to beat the competition, they diversified. They realize they're no longer just selling you a meal, they're selling you desserts, wine, literally anything to make that weekly box more valuable to you.
Next up, let's talk about Blue Apron. You probably remember them. They were one of the big pioneers in the US market. For a while, they were the name in meal kits. But their journey really shows you just how hard it is to stay on top when the entire industry changes around you.
For Blue Apron, this whole thing became a game of survival. They were just burning through cash on marketing to get customers who, well, they wouldn't stick around. So they had to pivot hard. They slashed their marketing budget and decided to focus only on high-value customers, the ones who would actually be profitable in the long run. They also got really creative, striking up partnerships with companies like WW to reach a new, motivated audience without breaking the bank.
Okay, now for a totally different approach. Sunbasket looked at this crowded market and basically said, you know what, we're not going to compete on price. Instead, they carved out a premium niche for themselves by focusing on organic, sustainable, and really health-conscious customers.
What's so fascinating about Sunbasket's strategy is how they took the industry's weaknesses and turned them into their strengths. That high cost for all the organic ingredients, that became their selling point for a premium audience that cared about that stuff. And they cleverly tackled the environmental issue head-on by pioneering 100% recyclable packaging. They made sustainability a real reason to choose them. And then they had this light bulb moment. Not everyone wants to cook every night. So they expanded into pre-made, fresh and ready meals. Smart.
Not every story has a happy ending, and that brings us to Plated. Plated is a really powerful cautionary tale in this industry. They had a fantastic product, truly gourmet recipes. But a great product just can't save a broken business model.
This timeline right here, it's pretty stark. The acquisition by Albertsons in 2017, that looked like a lifeline, right? A way to finally solve their logistics and customer acquisition problems. But the attempt to shift from subscriptions to just selling kits in stores, it didn't work. By 2019, it was all over. Plated's failure shows that even with the backing of a massive grocery chain, you can't fix fundamental problems with your unit economics. If it costs you more to get a customer than you'll ever make from them, you are doomed. It's that simple.
But here's the twist. Where Clated's acquisition failed, another one absolutely soared. Let's look at Home Chef. They were acquired by another grocery giant, Kroger, and it created a completely different outcome. This one became a massive success story.
So what was the secret to Home Chef's success? It was their omnichannel strategy. Being bought by Kroger solved the industry's single biggest problem, the insane cost of finding new customers online. I mean, think about it. Why spend a fortune on social media ads when you can just put your box right there in the grocery aisle where people are already shopping? It was a masterstroke. They also doubled down on convenience, focusing on oven-ready and 15-minute meals for people who were just completely crunched for time. That became their killer feature.
So after looking at a giant, a pioneer, a niche champion, a failure, and a huge success story, what have we actually learned? What is the playbook for winning in this industry today?
Well, it really seems to boil down to these 4 rules. Number 1, you got to embrace omnichannel. You can't just be online anymore, you have to be in stores too. 2, diversify your menu. Think beyond the basic kit. We're talking prepared meals, groceries, add-ons. 3, make sustainability a core feature, not just some afterthought. And finally, number 4, and this is the big one, the most important rule of all, you have to master your unit economics, because if that math doesn't work, nothing else you do is going to matter.
But look, this industry is not standing still for a second. Technology and our own tastes are changing all the time, which means the meal kit of tomorrow is going to look very different from the one we have today. So, what's cooking next?
Well, the future looks way smarter, a lot faster, and much, much greener. You can expect hyper-personalization with AI curating a menu specifically for your health goals. That shift to heat and eat is only going to accelerate. And imagine this, your meal kit syncing directly with your smart oven. And that push for sustainability? It's going to drive real innovation, like truly reusable packaging that gets picked right up from your doorstep.
Which brings us to a final, pretty provocative question. You see, this was never just about selling dinner. It was always about outsourcing a piece of our kitchen. And as these services get smarter and more integrated into our daily lives, they start to blur the very definition of a home-cooked meal. So the real question isn't just what's for dinner anymore. It's how much of your kitchen are you truly willing to outsource?